Joining me right now is Ohio Congressman. He is chairman of the House Intelligence Committee and member of the House Oversight Committee, Mike Turner. Mr. Chairman, always a pleasure. Thanks for joining us.
Good morning. Thanks for having me,
Well,
Maria.
you just heard the president. It's not negotiable. Now what?
Well, you know, this is a clear win for Speaker McCarthy. The president has continued to say that spending and debt are not related. We know it's a basic equation. The more you spend, the more debt you have. Speaker McCarthy has put forth a plan that raises the debt limit, but at the same time rolls back spending. This way we can attack out of control inflation, out of control spending in Washington, D.C. and get people back to work.
So what happens now? The bill, the Limit, Save, Grow Act, would return total discretionary spending to fiscal year 2022 levels and cap annual growth in spending at 1% for a decade thereafter, and also roll back that COVID money. Do you think this has any chance of living here, or do you start from scratch once the Senate acts?
No, absolutely. These provisions are very important to the House, and the president really needs to sit down and read it. You know, his platitudes of, we've got to raise the debt limit. Well, the House voted to raise the debt limit. We also voted to roll back spending. He needs to come to the table. He needs to negotiate. He needs to put together a package that's good for America. What the president has been doing has been disastrous for the economy. This bill that we've just put forward restores really mindful spending in Washington at the same time that we take the responsible step of raising the debt limit.
Yeah, meanwhile, Americans are watching these two tiers of justice and two applications of the law. We know what's going on with the Biden case, Hunter Biden, and the laptop evidence of influence peddling. And yet former President Trump is fighting battle after battle. His legal team has sent a letter to the House Intelligence Committee, as you know, voicing concerns about how the Department of Justice is handling the classified documents probe. Both Trump and Biden have done the same thing in terms of classified documents, we believe. The legal team writes this: DOJ should be ordered to stand down, and the intelligence community should instead conduct an appropriate investigation and provide a full report to the committee. They also defend the specific documents uncovered, saying it's likely White House staffers simply swept them from the president's desk and into boxes, where they have resided ever since. Congressman, what is your take on all of this?
Well, certainly we've been very concerned about the disparate treatment between the Trump administration as they've departed and Department of Justice and the Biden administration with the past documents, both that he had from his time as Senate and also as vice president. Both currently have special prosecutors, and I think people frequently miss that the Biden administration, President Biden himself, has a special prosecutor looking at the criminal aspects of his misuse of classified documents. But our committee has already been looking at this issue on the misuse of classified documents. We had the archivists into our committee to testify, and they actually testified that every administration since Reagan has delivered to them boxes of a mixture of classified and declassified documents, unclassified documents, that were mixed together. There's been mishandling with a history that goes all the way back to the Reagan administration. We're looking at how do we change the laws, how do we change the rules, and how do we address this so it doesn't affect future administrations, and it certainly shouldn't affect these two.
Well, it's pretty incredible what's going on with these two tiers of justice. I want to get your take on where your investigations stand. Congressman, you and the Judiciary Chairman Jim Jordan wrote a letter to Secretary of State Anthony Blinken. You're demanding answers about the letter signed by 51 intelligence officials, which called the Biden laptop Russian disinformation. A former CIA official testified that Blinken and the Biden campaign coordinated to get that statement out to squash the story. New York Post columnist Miranda Devine joined me yesterday to discuss this. Here's what she said. Watch.
His role in organising that 51 intel officials' dishonest letter is really something to be seen. It's proof that the Biden campaign did orchestrate it. Antony Blinken then was working for the Biden campaign. He would not be Secretary of State today if he hadn't been so involved with the Biden family.
And Congressman, there's a great op-ed from Jonathan Turley in The Hill, Anthony Blinken and the made men of the Biden administration. And he goes on to say all about this, that it was Blinken who started all this letter to get the 51 people to sign the letter to, crush the Post's reporting on the Biden laptop. Same thing with Jake Sullivan. He was out there peddling the Russia collusion story, which was another lie in 2016 and 2017. He got a big job. He's now the national security advisor. Are you investigating this?
Absolutely. In conjunction with the Judiciary Committee, Jim Jordan and I are working very closely together on this. The issue here is that recall that many in the media would not report about the Hunter Biden laptop issue, claiming as a result of this letter that this was Russian disinformation. The reality is that the letter that claimed it was Russian disinformation that was coordinated allegedly by Secretary of State Blinken was political. This was political in nature, that they tried to suppress this story. The media used that letter as if it was some official letter declaring this Russian disinformation. In fact, it was true. Later, they've had to go back and acknowledge the contents of Hunter Biden's laptop are real, and the things that are inside of it, which are totally damaging to the Biden administration, need to be investigated.
Yeah, I mean, we knew it because John Ratcliffe, former DNI, came on this program in October, right before the election, and said it's absolutely not Russian disinformation. But the media, you know, they had that letter. Biden used it in the debate right before the 2020 election, saying 51 people signed it, so it's garbage. And the media went for it. People went for it as well. But I want to get your take on what's behind the Anthony Blinken element here, because he was also running the Penn Biden Center when the Penn Biden Center at the University of Pennsylvania received all that money from China. I mean, we ask the question if Joe Biden is compromised all the time because of the money that we apparently understand his family has taken in. What about others in his administration? Is Anthony Blinken compromised as well?
Well, he's certainly part of the investigation, and the letter that we sent asked him to provide us documents with respect to the campaign. They're not protected under his claims of executive privilege as Secretary of State because they relate to the campaign prior to his appointment and to the Biden campaign itself. This is going to be interesting because we're going to follow this all the way to the end until we get to the truth.